Hi, I'm Dr. Joyce Alberts, Clinical Psychologist based in North Canterbury, South Island, New Zealand. This is a continuation of a series of videos that I'm posting on YouTube as part of an experiment to see whether people are interested to watch, to connect, to engage in conversations, and to learn more about some topics that I'm interested in, want to learn more about myself. I work in the area of psychology, but some of these areas that I'll be talking about I'm not an expert in and do not claim to be an expert in. I do my research and I also suggest other people do their research as well. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about my own experience, my personal experience, and this it was triggered for me by watching and following a trial that's being conducted in the United States as we speak. And this is a trial related to a young woman who at the time was a young girl, Maya, who was admitted into Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital for treatment. So before I begin, I want to talk a little bit about some of the claims that have come out about this trial and some of the reasons why this is in front of the courts as we speak. So the premise seems to be that this young girl, Maya, presented in hospital at the emergency department and then was later admitted into the paediatric intensive care unit with severe pain. Her parents were explaining that she has a previous diagnosis of complex regional pain disorder, sometimes referred to as CRPS or sometimes CRPS. This is not a common condition. It is a very, very painful condition, and it seems to be that it's more prevalent in young girls and women than it is in young boys and men. However, the hospital became alarmed very early on about Maya's condition and statements that were being made by Maya and her mother. This led the hospital to come to the conclusion that they doubted the initial diagnosis of complex regional pain syndrome, and they started to go down the avenue of conversion disorder, or somatic symptom disorder, sometimes talking about factitious disorder, functional neurological symptom disorder, as I said, sometimes previously referred to as conversion disorder. Often during the trial you may hear mentioned in other media reports that the hospital were claiming this was a case of Munchausen by proxy. I'm going to talk about all of those symptoms and disorders and diagnosis in more detail in another video, but I wanted to start probably part one of my own personal journey. What triggered this was watching this trial, which is current. It's the weekend here in New Zealand, and of course the jury and the trial over in the United States are taking their weekend break as well. I was watching this trial and it triggered the memories of what I had been through. I've never forgotten those memories, I'm not suggesting I had, but it just brought them all to the forefront again. So I'm going to go back to 1985. This is here in Christchurch, New Zealand. At the time, my youngest child would have been about 7 or 8 months old. She had essentially the doctor came to that she had failure to thrive. She was not putting on weight. She, at the time, I think she was around 11 pounds. I'm using the old measurements rather than kilos because that's what I'm more familiar with. I at some stage might go back and get some more information for those who like to know what that is in kilograms. But just to sort of put that in context, when she was born, she was over 7 pounds. So between 7 and 8 months, she had not put on a lot of weight. I had been with her to the doctor, on my GP, a general practitioner, on numerous occasions. Obviously concerned that she was not putting on weight, but other than that, she was symptom free. She wasn't a colicky baby. She didn't seem to have reflux, she wasn't spilling, she seemed to be feeding well. I breastfed up until 3 months, and then after falling ill and needing antibiotics, she was on formula. Everything else seemed to be fine. She didn't seem to have any other symptoms or conditions. She didn't have any eczema. She just simply was not putting on weight. Other than that, she seemed to be meeting other milestones. She was sitting independently. She seemed to be bright and alert. And it was just, as I said, the weight, the failure to thrive. I was referred with my then youngest daughter to a clinic. It was a Karatani nursing clinic. It's a sort of an extension of our Plunkett nurse or public health nurse system here in New Zealand at the time. I spent at least a day in that Karatani unit. It was on Riccarton Road, for those that in Christchurch, for those that might remember that building, talking to the Karatani nurses and just sort of basically going over everything that I was experiencing with my daughter at the time. As I understood it, they didn't raise any concerns themselves, and we just continued down this path of just not understanding, not knowing why my daughter was not putting on weight, why she continued to fail to thrive. It's resulted in yet another visit back to the GP, and then a referral to the paediatric service at then Christchurch Hospital, later named Canterbury District Health Board, and that service and the paediatrician that I'll be referring to, who was head of paediatrics, has all changed. In fact, the paediatrician is no longer with us. He passed away quite some years ago, so I'll not name him by name. I just want to talk about my experience and the journey that we went through. So this is part one of this discussion. I'm going to talk more about the experience of that first appointment. I'm going to, in my next video, talk about those first days under the care of this paediatrician, and then maybe in the third video talk about what happened after that contact with the paediatrician, and then maybe in the fourth video just talk about what happened afterwards in terms of just follow up from there. So I'm going to talk about my personal journey of being referred to a paediatrician and the experience of what that was like, what happened, the potential implications, and how some of this relates to and is similar to what my own two family experienced. So stay posted, watch this space, and I'll post the next video shortly. Ka kite.